Right, last year, claims of bullying emerged from dancers at the Royal New Zealand Ballet Company. They coincided with the departure of a significant number of the company's dancers. Over roughly a year, almost half either left or did not have their contracts renewed. Accounts of what happened have varied wildly. The RNZB itself rejected many of the accusations, but dancers, mostly speaking off the record, were adamant the culture was sometimes beyond robust. A former Deputy State Services Commissioner was asked to conduct a review of the company's policies and procedures for managing and responding to complaints by staff. He found few issues with the way the company handled allegations of bullying, but he made 11 recommendations, including additional training for staff, making some policies clearer and creating a blueprint for cultural, behavioural and performance expectations. That was released in March. The exodus of dancers has stemmed, although not ended since then. The company's production of Dancing with Mozart was received with glowing reviews. And whilst there's still a sense that having fewer than half of the company's dancers being New Zealanders isn't high enough for the Royal New Zealand Ballet, the company is looking to recruit. Just as if it looked like the waters were calm and the sailing was good, the company's executive director, Frances Turner, announced she was resigning to be with her family in Auckland. I spoke with the chairman of the board, Steven Fyfe, about what did and didn't happen and the company's health on and off the stage.
We did receive complaints, as all a matter of public record, and we took those very seriously, and that's why we had Mr. Craig undertake the independent review earlier in the year, and we've published all his findings. So he had a number of recommendations for things that we could do better, and we've accepted all of those. But importantly, he did find that we had treated the complaints seriously. We had policies that were fit for purpose, not perfect, and he's given us recommendations about how to make them better. But we did take the complaints seriously. One of his specific recommendations was that we engage more actively with our staff to actually together define the culture. So that's where it's going on. In fact, the workshops are taking place during June and July. And but the culture, it's a high performance. You know, we're in the performing arts. It's a tough profession, ballet. It's technically extraordinarily proficient. So it's a tough business to get right. We're always challenged for finances. We're always challenged with health and safety issues around theatres being open and closed. So it is high performance. So it has its stresses and strains. And but I say the culture is to produce high quality work, to give it your best at all times, and it's the classic teamwork environment. So I think we have a good culture, but it certainly can be. It needs to be continually worked on and improved.
Do you think you have a good culture? Because dancers are still leaving, aren't they?
Well, there's 3 dancers have left in the first half of 28, but there's always dancer turnover, and 3 leaving would not be unusual.
Absolutely. In terms of your dancers, and let's come back to the culture that we talked about, and you would have absolutely heard the interviews on Checkpoint, and you would have absolutely read the stuff that was online and in the newspapers. The dancers were saying they felt bullied, they felt intimidated, they felt constantly under threat and assessed in a way that was excessively robust, sometimes demeaning and sometimes pretty scary. Now, do you think the Royal New Zealand Ballet has moved on from that kind of management of their dancers?
Yeah. So firstly, I'll say that is an exaggeration of, I don't think that's a fair characterisation of the complaints we received in 2015, not 2016. We did get complaints, but they were not of the nature that you've just characterised.
Certainly I spoke to people who said that. I spoke to a number of dancers who said that. And in fact, they told me that they were prepared to say it to me off the record, but they were scared to say it on the record, and they were scared to say it to their employer.
Yeah. So, we certainly did get complaints. So we did get the voice of those, and it wasn't the way you've characterised it. There were elements of what you said that people complained of, but it wasn't of the level that you were talking about. But that's why we had the independent review. Said, well, how did we respond to those? And one way you could think about it is, are dancers attracted to the Royal New Zealand Ballet today? And they are. I mean, we have plenty of applications. We're inundated with people wanting to join that company. There is a high turnover in the ballet industry as ballet careers are short. Dancers want to dance for a number of companies. So I think the sign that there's no shortage of people wanting to join the New Zealand Ballet.
So you had a review,
yeah,
in response to what the dancers were saying, and you wouldn't have had a review if the dancers weren't saying something, if the dancers weren't making allegations at some level about the culture within the Royal New Zealand Ballet. Was that a culture that operated under Francesco Ventriglia?
So when Francesco was here, we did receive complaints. We've been quite open about that. They were taken seriously. Doug Craig said in some ways we went probably a little bit overboard in terms of, in every case, we used external advisors and external advice to help us understand how to respond. He's actually suggested going forward we should do less of that and build the capability internally, which is a good idea. But I don't think the incidents made the culture excessively bad. It was not ideal in some respects, but overall I think the culture of the ballet company is good.
How many personal grievances have you had from company members in the past 12 months?
Personal grievance, I may not get the number. It's about 4. But I'd stand to be corrected, but it would be of that order.
And how many of those 4, and that's my understanding that is the number, in fact I was told that today, how many of those 4 have been upheld and have resulted in some kind of formal settlement, including a payout?
So of the 4 that one was withdrawn or not taken forward. So 3. So the 3 are all in mediation with professional. So the parties agreed that, and it's quite a normal process. So they're in the process of being mediated, and my understanding, and that mediation is underway right now. My understanding is 2 of the 3 have been concluded in mediation, and there's been a financial payment, largely for compensation of time and legal costs and that kind of thing.
So Steven, so here you are, and I absolutely take you at your word, telling me the culture is fine, and telling me there are no issues, and telling me that my representation of it in the question I asked you earlier was an exaggeration, and I accept that we're going to agree to differ on that. But you're also telling me there have been 4 PGs, 1 of which has been withdrawn, 3 of which are ongoing, 2 have resulted, and 3 of which are ongoing with mediation, and 2 have resulted in some form of settlement. Now, you only have 30 dancers in your company. Is that consistent with a culture that is, as you are representing, well and healthy and constructive and good?
What I'm not able to tell you is the discussions that went on in mediation, and I wasn't part of it, so I've only heard reports, but the nature of mediation. But what I think I can say is that the findings from mediation were that we did follow good process. The particular things that were the subject of the personal grievances were around the process by which dancers' contracts are renewed. They did not relate to allegations of bullying, or there was nothing of that nature. It was around contractual issues with contracts, because dancers, like sports people, are on contracts. So the matters were contractual and legal, and it was around how that was handled. My understanding was that it was felt that the ballet company had followed its policies pretty well, and the settlements amount to a compensation for time and cost. So I don't believe there were mediation doesn't produce findings per se, but there were no findings that we had not followed our policies or not followed correct procedure.
Why is Frances Turner leaving?
Well, it's personal reasons, and it's to return to her family. Frances was effectively commuting, and I'm sure it's totally unconnected to any of the publicity we had. It's a personal decision by Frances, and we're actually very grateful that given the media activity that Frances is going to give us 9 months into 2018 just to ensure we have a smooth transition.
Highly regarded Frances. What was her relationship with Patricia Barker like?
Well, it's good. We have this twin chief executive role between the two, so it's very common in the arts, but not so common elsewhere, and it's very important the two of them get on very well, and they bring totally different strengths, and it's worked well.
I know that you have to go, and we really appreciate your time. One final question, and that is, do you believe this is a company to be proud of? On the stage, of course, but also, in the wings.
Oh, it was a bruising 2017, but I'm absolutely proud to be associated with the ballet company. We produce wonderful performances. We do wonderful things in the community that I'd love to be able to talk to you about one day, but I know that's not what we're talking about. And we're absolutely committed to make New Zealanders proud of us, and and many New Zealanders love the ballet company and buy our tickets and support us. So, I think New Zealanders can be proud of the ballet company.
Steven Fyfe, Chairman of the Board.